Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today let's talk about the legendary Season 12 of Doctor Who, or for some reason the US version calls it Tom Baker, the complete Season 1. Season 12! Tom Baker's first season as the Doctor. Let's talk about it. So, Season 12 of classic Doctor Who. Oh, this is a good one. I love Season 12. When I was ranking all of Doctor Who's seasons and series from worst to best, Season 12 was number one. Barely number one. Because I do think the two best seasons the show has ever had are Seasons 12 and 13. Now, objectively, I think 13 is probably the best season the show has ever done, but Season 12 could be my favorite. It's hard to pick between the two. I love Season 12. A wonderful start to the Philip Hinchcliffe era, with Barry Letts, of course, doing a lot of the groundwork here, casting Tom Baker as the Doctor. That is just lightning in a bottle casting, with Tom stepping into the role, propelling the show to even further heights than the Pertwee era already had. The 70s truly is the best decade of Doctor Who, in my opinion. Just so many good people in front of the camera, so many good people behind the camera, so many good stories. And we have a lot of really good ones in Season 12. And I like that Season 12, from the get-go, takes the show in a different direction. Almost from the get-go, anyway. We do have, of course, Robot, which is basically a post-Pertwee story. So we get one last kind of Pertwee-style adventure before we really enter the Tom Baker era in full. But after that, you know, we have a huge departure of the status quo. We get back to traveling more. We get back into space more, with the next story with the Ark in Space, which is a wonderful epic. It's basically Alien before Alien. I wonder if Ridley Scott's ever seen the Ark in Space. I wonder. And it's this wonderful Alien-style movie in space on this wonderful space station with a really nice set. We have a futuristic Earth story, which kind of, to me, has Planet of the Apes vibes to it with the sontaran experiment, which is a great two-parter that knows it only needs to be a two-parter. We have the legendary Genesis of the Daleks, which is the quintessential classic Doctor Who story. I would imagine that if you're a modern Who fan who only watches the modern series, the story you've probably heard the most about from classic Who fans is Genesis. That's just the one we keep in our back pocket. Well, modern Doctor Who has Blink and Heaven Sent. What do you have? We're like, let me reach into this back pocket real quick. There we go, Genesis of the Daleks. To be fair, that's not the only story Classic Who has, but I think that's the first one classic fans reach for when we try to go, we did it better, us old folks in our Classic Who, here's Genesis. Genesis, I mean, it's Genesis. The legacy of Genesis of the Daleks is something every Doctor Who fan probably knows. Even people who only watch the modern series who haven't seen Classic Who have heard of Genesis of the Daleks, because it just has that legendary reputation, which is well earned, I might add. And then we finish off on Revenge of the Cybermen, which is the only Cyberman story in the 70s, and a really good one as well. One that does not get the praises it deserves, actually. Very good story. So we have these different stories set on different planets, set in space on space stations. We have a wide variety here of stories. We do have an actor who's just perfect casting as the Doctor. Tom Baker is my favorite Doctor. I love the Fourth Doctor. And he's very good here. I love his outfit. We have Sarah Jane with him as well, my favorite companion. And we have Harry, and I like Harry a lot as well. It's nice kind of having three companions for this season. It's very enjoyable, and they all bounce off each other really, really well. I feel like Sarah is written better in Season 11 than she is here. She's still written well here, and Elizabeth's always great. But she feels a little more damsel in distress-y at times. Not quite as independent as she was in Season 11. A little more reliant on the Doctor. And plus, I liked her hairstyle better in most of Season 11. But I miss that individual journalist streak that she had in Season 11 a little more. Although she's still great here. Her and Tom, of course, are amazing together. So I like the huge differences going on this season with the setup that we've got. It does a really good job of easing you in, giving you one final Pertwee story, even though it's not Pertwee as the Doctor in it with Robot, and we still, of course, have Sarah Jane there, and, of course, you still have the Brigadier there. I'm trying to remember if Benton's in this one or not. I can't remember if Benton's in Robot or not. I do. Yes, he is. I know he's in Robot. That's right, because he missed the regeneration. He's like, oh, I missed it again. So you have these familiar characters to kind of nursemaid you into having a new Doctor, and you have a familiar type story to kind of get you comfortable with the new Doctor. I like that. Plus, I just like Robot. Robot is fun to me. I have a very nostalgic attachment to it, even though I don't think I saw it for the first time. Ooh, I don't even remember when I saw Robot for the first time, to be honest. But it wasn't when I was young. It was later. And I very much enjoyed my watching of it. It's fun to me. I like the fact the Robot is obviously a guy in a suit. It's just that classic Who adorable. I love that. And the fact he can't even hold the gun right because of the claw dips. I love that. I love the guy playing Kettlewell. Absolutely love him. The actress who plays the antagonist, I can't remember her character's name, with the glasses. She's great in that role. That's a sign of when you take feminism too far right there. But the outfit she's wearing is perfect. I love that. The King Kong stuff going on at the end is so hilariously over the top. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Bad CSO and all. I love it. This one's just, it's fun. It's campy, silly, don't take it too seriously fun. It's my favorite post-regeneration story. I don't think it's objectively the best post-regeneration story. That's the 11th Hour. But this one's my personal favorite just because it's fun. It's campy, silly, fun. It's a one final Pertwee-era adventure without Pertwee. And it's fun. The arc in space is completely different. I love the arc in space. Again, it's Alien before Alien. I love the set design of Nerva Beacon, and I love the intelligence to reuse that set for Revenge of the Cybermen to stretch the budget and just have it take place at different time periods in Nerva Beacon's history. I'd love for them to go back to Nerva Beacon sometime. I love that set. I truly love that set. And for me, it's effective, even though it's green bubble wrap painted. My childhood imagination completely filled the blanks in on that, because the Ark in Space, as I've talked about on the channel before, is one of the first Doctor Who stories I ever saw. It was the first Doctor Who story I ever owned. I bought it on DVD back in around the mid-2000s, early 2000s, somewhere in there. The first story I ever owned from Doctor Who. And I love it. I loved the childhood memories I had of this. It was scary. It was spooky. I didn't see green bubble wrap. I saw a man mutating into a creature. It was really, really well done. The actor playing Noah is so convincing in that role, much like Jeff Goldblum is in the remake of The Fly, because it's not just his body that's changing, it's his mind. Much like with The Fly, his mind is being affected by what's going on. And watching him, I love that scene when he's wrestling with it, when he's trying to fight it, when he's trying to keep from hitting that button, and he's telling Vira to take command before being kind of subsumed by the entity, we will consume this world. And so that's really, my hat's off to the actor there, because he does a really good job as Noah. I like the actress playing Vira. She is really good in this. They're really the only two guest casts that get a lot to do. I mean, the guy who sacrifices himself with the missile does a pretty good job, and then the other guy who gets killed by Noah is not really there long enough. I feel like Sarah doesn't get utilized quite as well as she should here. More damsel in distress, female companion archetype than usual with her, which is a little frustrating. Harry's also kind of just there. He gets a little, it's more just so there's some dialogue going on between the Doctor and other people at the beginning of the story. He doesn't really do a lot. It's the story that makes it work. I do enjoy the story of the creature invading, sabotaging the security system, and then dying after living long enough to basically lay her eggs. I enjoy watching Noah being consumed by it, how they do that, where it's slowly creeping up. I mean, that cliffhanger when he slides his hand out of his pocket, that's an amazing cliffhanger. That's such a good cliffhanger. And then when you see his face change at the end, that's a good cliffhanger. I like that. and just seeing how it's slowly taking him over. That's really cool. But I also love the fact that in the end, there's enough of his humanity left to where he is able to lead the swarm away and blow up the shuttle and save everyone. I like that there was enough humanity left in him to. I really like Noah as a character, actually. Tom gets some great dialogue in here. It's entirely due to my influence, of course. You mustn't take any credit. I love when he tells Harry that. I love his speech about humanity, about Homo sapiens. That's a wonderful speech, which for some reason I think is cut in the omnibus version. Omnibus versions are good, but I always recommend watching the full part. There's just sometimes some great stuff you're missing out on. So I absolutely love The Ark in Space. It is a flat-out classic. And the Sontaran experiment is a nice, as I mentioned before, it's a nice two-parter that knows it only needs to be a two-parter. It's a great second story for the Sontarans. I love the location work. I wish they had shot this on film, because this was, of course, completely location. We would have had an opportunity to have another Doctor Who story completely on film. Of course, there's always the chance they would have lost the film elements. That's also possible. But maybe since it was shot on film, they would have retained those film elements. It would have looked so good. But it was not. The choice was made. They shot this on the outside videotape, outside cameras on videotape. Sadly, still a fun story. I enjoy it. It's not, to me, anything to write home about. I do think the actor who played the Sontaran in Time Warrior is also playing him here. He does a pretty good job. The fight scene at the end's a little rough because I know he wasn't in the best of health. Plus, Tom Baker had famously broken his collarbone, so they had to use his stunt double, which may have been Terry, actually. I wonder if that was Terry Walsh stunt doubling for Tom in this one, because Tom had broken his collarbone. You sometimes see in close-ups he looks like he's got that arm kind of hidden with the jacket around it because it was broken. So the fight scene at the end is a little clunky due to those circumstances, but it's fine. It works well enough. I think the Sontaran's death is pretty cool, and when he just kind of disintegrates, that's pretty neat. Watching Harry use the Sonic's fun. I enjoy it well enough. I think the guest cast in it are fine. It's nothing to write home about, but it's a good two-parter, I'll put it that way. And it's nice to see the location work. Looks really good. And then, of course, we move into Genesis. How do you sum up everything great about Genesis? I mean, some people would argue it is a tad long, which you have the omnibus version for. I disagree. The clam does look a little cheap, but I can overlook that. I feel like it fills out its 6 parts really well. I love Michael Wisher as Davros. I love the invention of Davros. Davros is just such a cool idea, such a cool character, and he's never portrayed better than Michael Wisher plays him here. And there have been other people who've done good Davroses. I've liked every actor who has performed Davros. Even David Goodinson, Terry Malloy, Julian Bleach, is that his name? Julian? I like Julian in the modern series. Does him really well, especially in the Series 4 two-parter. But Michael Wisher just gets the megalomania of Davros perfect with that high-pitched squeal, especially when he's, and through that power, through the daleks, I will have that power. That's Davros perfectly. And I absolutely love how well Michael Wisher nails that performance. Every scene between the Doctor and Davros in this story is gold. You will tell me? No, I will not. I love the back and forth between them. When they're at odds, when the Doctor is giving him that hypothetical situation of, if you had a virus that would destroy every living thing, would you use it? Because that shows just how nuts, insane, and megalomania, how much megalomania Davros is suffering from, which is understandable. Look what's happened to the guy. I mean, and I know some people like Russell T. Davis might try to say, well, that kind of physical trauma might not cause mental trauma, but yes, it does. Physical trauma can cause mental trauma. I'm not saying it has to. There are plenty of people who have been physically scarred in one way or another, and they're still good people. But physical trauma can cause mental trauma. The things that happen to Davros, in my opinion, are what makes him Davros. Like, I could easily see the accident that cost him so much physically, making him part of why he's mentally the way he is. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a character like that, because different people are going to respond to that kind of physical deformity in different ways. Some people will be able to cope through that. Some people will not. That's just a fact. But Davros is such a phenomenal character. And I love that he kind of gets his comeuppance at the end, because he gets exactly what he wants with the Daleks, but not exactly what he wants with the Daleks. Because the way he describes the Daleks throughout the story is exactly what he gets. But he's also one of those mad scientists that's just a little too clever for his own good. So even though he makes them exactly to where they turn out the way he wanted, he didn't take that last little bit into account, that he is not technically a Dalek, and they turn on him. And if we had never gotten Davros back, if Davros had just been a one-off character, I mean, I'm glad we got him back, but if we hadn't, this would have been the perfect ending for him. The perfect ending for him, to get his comeuppance, realizing just how big of a mistake he made with them turning on him at the end. Poetic, wonderful ending. Also, I have got to give credit to Peter Miles as Niter. I love me some Peter Miles. I love when Peter Miles shows up in stuff. I just recently listened to the Paradise of Death 90s audio, which has Peter Miles in it, and I was so excited when I realized he was in it. I also just recently watched episode 6 of Blake 7, Seek, Locate, Destroy, which also is the episode that introduces Jacqueline Pierce as Severlin. Is that how you pronounce it? Severlin? And in the exact same scene when she first shows up, Peter Miles is right next to her. And when I saw Peter Miles, I really like Peter Miles. He's so good in everything I see him in, every time he's in Doctor Who. He has this really cool voice. There's just something about his voice, that manner of speak he has, and his voice, his tone. I really like that voice. It's so good. And he just plays that World War II German-inspired type character, let's be honest, that Niter is so well. And I do think there's a lot of reasons why Genesis is so good. There's a plethora of reasons. But one of those reasons is Niter is just so well performed by Peter Miles that I just can't give him enough credit in this, because he is one of the many, many reasons why this episode just works. So I got to give my hat to Peter Miles there. And I love the fact that the Khalids and the Thals are not written in black and white. It's not like in the original Daleks where the Thals are the good guys and the Daleks are the bad guys. Or even in Planet of the Daleks where it's kind of like that, where the Thals are the good guys and the Daleks are the bad guys. It's not like that here. It's not that the Khalids are the bad guys and the Thals are the good guys. It's more a gray area where both sides have good and bad people. You know, the Khalids have some pretty bad people, but also some really good people who want to stop Davros. There's actually a whole bunch of the Khalids trying to stop Davros and the creation of the Daleks at the end. And the same thing with the Thals. There's some of the Thals that are not so good, some of the Thals that are good. So I like the fact that the Thals and the Khalids really are more mirrors of each other, instead of having one that's definitely the good cowboys and the white hats and one that's definitely the bad cowboys and the black hats. I like that little nuance. So you have this just kind of perfect storm of everything coming together in Genesis. It's well written by Terry Nation. It's well performed by the guest cast and the main cast. And it's directed very well. I tend to like the guest cast a lot. The scientist that originally kind of interrogates the Doctor, I like the actor playing him. Davros has concluded, of course, that, you know, intelligent life can't exist on other planets. And then he looks at the readout and Tom just grins at him. You were saying? But he's the one, when the Daleks almost execute the Doctor and Harry during that first demonstration, he cuts it off saying no. He's really good. The guy playing, was it Gorman? Is that his name? Gorman? Is really good as well. Absolutely love that. And then, of course, we have the "Do I have the right?" speech. One of the Fourth Doctor's, if not the Doctor in general's, defining moments in Doctor Who. Excuse me. And I do think, I have to point out, that some people get this moment a little wrong, because some people seem to be under the impression that he decides not to do it. That's not the case. Excuse me. That's not the case. He actually is in the middle of deciding whether he can do it when Gorman shows up telling him, you know, we've won, because Gorman mistakenly thinks that they won. And the doctor even tells him, I'm grateful to you, Gorman. You'll never know how grateful. Or whatever it is he says there, because he's grateful because he doesn't have to make that choice. But the fact that he hesitates to make the, what some people would call easy choice to kill the Daleks. Once again, it's very much that baby Hitler situation. You know, if you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler, would you? Because you would stop all the suffering and stuff from World War II. That's the, you know, the kind of the age-old comparison. And whereas there are some people who would have no problem going, yes, kill the Daleks. Give me the wires. Give me the wires. You know, that's still genocide. You're still killing an entire species. You're committing genocide. And as the doctor says, there are good things that come out of the Daleks existing. You know, people forming alliances that never would have otherwise. Things like that. All of the potential good that could come out of the Daleks existing, you know, as a result of them existing. The fact that he's asking those questions shows his character. It's a very defining moment for the Doctor as a character. Not just the Fourth Doctor, but the Doctor, you know, any Doctor. And it's one of the Fourth Doctor's greatest moments in the show, which is full of it, greatest moments for him. It's a very important question. And Tom Baker sells that. So it's interesting how Sarah Jane is actually very, kill him, kill him, kill him. That's actually quite interesting to me too. Nobody ever talks about that. That Sarah Jane's very, you must complete your mission for the Time Lords. I'm kind of surprised she's very, because now, to be fair, this isn't the first time Sarah's run into the Daleks. Because Sarah ran into the Daleks in Death to the Daleks. She knows what the Daleks are like. And maybe that's part of what's influencing her decision. And I get that she's written this way in this story so the Doctor can have his moment here. He needs someone kind of egging him on to do it so he can explain why he's hesitating. So he can give that wonderful speech, basically, that he does there. You need somebody egging him on. And it makes the most sense to have Sarah do it. But it just feels a little weird coming from Sarah. You know, if it was a virus, something, you wouldn't hesitate. You need to do it. Come on, come on, come on. Touch me. Give me the wires, Doctor. It's a little interesting, and no one ever talks about that with Sarah. That it feels a little odd for her to be so, get him, get him, get him. And again, I'll chalk that up to her having fought them before in Death to the Daleks. But it just feels a little off for me for her to be, what are you waiting for? About it, to be so surprised he's hesitant. So that's a really good scene, but it's nice to look at it for what the Doctor's doing and what Sarah's doing there. It's a very fascinating scene, and it's a very great ending. And then we move into Revenge of the Cybermen, which some people would call the weakest story of the season. I would call them wrong. I mean, it's a great season, so none of the stories are bad. Revenge of the Cybermen is the only Cybermen story we get in the 70s. That's fascinating to me. And I absolutely love the fact that they actually had a little bit of money left over and were able to do the location work in the caves where they nearly got poor Sarah killed. Well, poor Liz killed, I should say. That's a whole other adventure if you watch the behind-the-scenes stuff on Revenge of the Cybermen. That's a fascinating watch, actually. But I love the location work on the caves. I love the B-plot going on with the Vogans on their planet of Vogus, Verga. I suck with names. You know, the one guy trying to overthrow the other guy. I like the little B-plot going on there. I love their outfits. I love the fact they're back on Nerva Beacon. Again, I love the fact how they reused the Nerva Beacon set to save on the budget. That's really neat. And plus, I love the Nerva Beacon set in general. The Cybermen in this are a bit more emotional than they should be, but that's kind of true from here on out, to be honest. The 80s Cybermen are very emotional. Earthshock Cybermen are very emotional. I love them, but they are. And plus, I love the Cyberman outfit. This is one of my favorite Cybermen designs. I love how snarky Tom Baker is with the Cybermen a lot. I really enjoy this story. It might not quite have the epic feel of Earthshock. There's a whole video I have coming about that if I haven't done it already. I'm not sure if that's going to drop before this one where I compare Earthshock and Revenge of the Cybermen. And it doesn't quite have that epic feel, but it's still really good. Part of that, of course, is Tom is always great, and Harry and Liz are in it. I still feel like Liz doesn't get enough to do here. She just feels a little underutilized, more damsel in distress. Although they're all kind of in distress at different parts in the story. I do love Tom Baker's Harry Sullivan is an imbecile. I love how Tom does that. I like the one guy who's kind of the spy, although I think he ends up kind of being a triple agent with the blonde hair. He's the same guy that as soon as I saw him in the first episode of Blake 7, I was like, don't trust that guy. He usually plays guys you can't trust. And of course, he turns out to be the traitor in that first episode of Blake 7. And I'm over there going, I knew it. I knew it. I like him, though. And I know he's in several other episodes of Doctor Who. I like the actor playing him. He's really good in the role. I mean, it does have that massive plot hole of the Vogons losing and getting slaughtered on the planet of gold, which is the Cybermen's weakness. That's what they're famous for being the planet that's the Cybermen's weakness. That's why the Cybermen want to destroy it, because it's the planet of gold, their weakness, but yet the people on the planet aren't using weapons with, like, gold bullets, or even a slingshot with gold coins, which we know will work. So that's a huge plot hole. Let's just be straight up honest. It's a huge plot hole. I just kind of overlook that and move on. And I find it an enjoyable story. I would not have had it as the season finale. And originally, it wasn't the season finale. As a lot of you know, Terror of the Zygons was filmed as part of the season 12 production block and then held over for broadcast at the beginning of season 13. And Terror of the Zygons would have made a great finale for season 12, in my opinion. Because season 12 is actually short for a 70s season. The 70s seasons are typically 24 to 26 episodes, right up in there, roughly 26, 24 episodes. 24, 25, 26. That's usually how many episodes a 70s season of Doctor Who runs, whereas season 12 only runs 20 episodes. You have 3 4-parters, a 2-parter, and a 6-parter for a combination of 20 episodes. So you're really a story short. You only have 5 stories, and they're not as big as a lot of the stories in the Pertwee era. So you only have 20 episodes. So it could have worked having 4 more episodes to make it a 24-episode season with Terror of the Zygons. And that would have made a really good season finale, bringing Unit back, bringing the Brigadier back, Benton back, etc., etc. Instead, they held that over, even though it was produced as part of that block, and held it over to season 13. I do think that would have made a better season finale in Revenge of the Cybermen. I do think Revenge of the Cybermen doesn't work as a season finale. I think if you're gonna do that, you should have done like Revenge of the Cybermen after the Sontaran experiment and had Genesis as the season finale. That probably would have worked better, in my opinion. As it is, I like Revenge of the Cybermen. Not exactly season finale material, in my opinion. But a good season overall. I like the variety. I like bringing the Daleks back. I like bringing the Cybermen back. I absolutely love the fact that we had Alien in space before Alien was even a thing. And I like having a nice little 2-parter that knows it's only supposed to be a 2-parter. And the fact that Tom clicked being the Doctor so quickly, I mean, he's so good, even in a robot. Just Tom Baker never needed a learning period in this role. I don't know if there's any other person who has just snapped into being the Doctor so immediately, except maybe Matt Smith, where he just is the Doctor, and I absolutely love that about him. I feel like Sarah was a little bit of a step back from where she was in season 11, but I still like her. She's my favorite companion. And Harry's a nice addition as a third person in this. So I really liked season 12. I love the variety in it a lot. And I love the fact it's getting Doctor Who back to being out traveling in the TARDIS, going to other places and not just stranded on Earth. I enjoy that a lot as well. So let's rank them real quick. At the bottom, I would have the Sontaran Experiment. Still good. Again, this could be my favorite season of all time. One of 2 between 12 and 13. So still good, but I'd put it last. Next, I would have Revenge of the Cybermen, I think. Again, great story. Not a good season finale. Great story. it really gets hard with the top 3. It kind of depends on my mood. I think I would put Robot in 3rd right now. I love Robot a lot, my favorite post-regeneration story, and sometimes I'd have it at number 1 on this list. Like I said, these top 3 kind of dance around. But I think for now, I would have probably Robot in 3rd, although practically tied with Ark in Space in 2nd. I mean, they're practically a tie. They're very different stories. It just depends on if I'm in the mood for, you know, pre-Alien in Space, or if I'm in the mood for campy fun. So probably Ark in 2nd with Genesis in 1st, because it's Genesis. Genesis is one of those stories I only watch every now and then because it's that fine wine. It's that one you have up on the shelf and you only take it down and drink from it every now and then. If I want just a fun Dalek story, I can watch Destiny of the Daleks, which I also enjoy and watch more often from season 17. But when I'm in that mood for it's time to watch one of the greatest Doctor Who stories of all time, I take Genesis off that top shelf and put it in. It's so good. And that's season 12 for me. Just a phenomenal, nice new era of Doctor Who and a continuation of the golden era of Doctor Who. I want to know what you think of season 12 and the stories in it and how you would rank them. And whether or not you think Sarah is written better in season 11 or season 12. I would love to hear that as well. Comment down below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. I want to give a shout out to Colin Coney, one of my top tier patrons. I appreciate his support as I do the support of all of my patrons and YouTube members. I have a link to my Amazon wish list down there, a link to my Amazon UK wish list down there, my P.O. box is down there as well. If there's anything y'all would like to send me to look at and review, I am losing my train of thought, apparently. Most importantly, thank you for watching.